The big three, Mijas, Marbella, and Estepona. 3 experts, locals, members of our High Homes team. Let's talk these areas. Welcome to Costa Insights. Okay, so guys, welcome back to Costa Insights. Good to have you guys on this episode.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Before we sort of dive into the differences of the areas, I'd like to give our audience a bit of background and context on why you'll be talking about your specific areas and how you're experts and locals in these areas. So, Matt, do you want to start? Why Mijas?
Yeah, sure. While I live in Fuengirola, I've been visiting Mijas every single summer my entire life, I think, with the exception of 2 summers. I've been here every summer my entire life. It's a place that brings back great memories. It's a place that I hold dear to my heart. It's the place that I actually call home. I've moved around quite a bit in my life, but it's the one place we've always come back to. So specifically in Mijas Pueblo, but of course by virtue of having our house in Mijas Pueblo, I've been in and around the greater Mijas area, which is actually holds a pretty big footprint, much bigger than I think a lot of people know on the Costa del Sol. So yeah, that's why I'm here talking about Mijas.
Awesome.
I love the place.
Sam, Estepona.
So actually I grew up in East Marbella, as I'm sure you know, but I'm living currently in Estepona, and obviously with the growth of Estepona in the market today, I spend all my weekends there. So I think I have a lot to say about the area.
So I'll give a bit of insights and context about myself. So I grew up in East Marbella, right? And I've lived in Marbella my entire life. So I'm going to be the one that's going to be talking Marbella on this video. So let's get started. So where should we? I think the easiest, let's say, starting point is lifestyle. And by the way, feel free to add in and talk about anything you're hearing about your colleagues speak about. So let's start with Mijas. What's lifestyle like in Mijas, Matt?
I think, how would I define the lifestyle of Mijas? I would define it as quite laid back. First of all, how do people, when they think about Mijas, what do they think about? For me, the quick thing to think about is Mijas Pueblo, the whitewashed village in the mountains, but that's not what Mijas is all about, even though that sort of defined my upbringing. For me, it's everything from just after Higueron in Benalmádena, right?
Fair enough, yeah.
More or less, right? Including Torreblanca and all the way over to, in fact, where we're sitting right now, Calahonda, right?
Yeah,
That's the stretch. So for me, it offers that nice mix of traditional, but while it still has a lot to give in terms of parks, things to do with the weekends, beautiful beaches. Yes, I don't know if it really answers your question, but it's I don't know. For me, it's synonymous with a laid back life.
So I would say like one of the main differences comparing Mijas to Marbella, and we're talking about sort of layout and the way that the municipality is laid out. Mijas is, you got Mijas Pueblo, which is the main town, I would say, and then you've got scattered around small villages, right? And that's the big difference with Marbella, because Marbella has one big city and a whole lot of suburbs. So I think that's the main difference between like Marbella and Mijas. Mijas is massive. I think Mijas is bigger than Marbella. I'm not sure about that. But Mijas is this massive sort of...
Mijas is the biggest.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes,
oh, interesting.
It's a huge footprint. People have this misconception that Mijas is quite small. It's enormous.
Yeah,
it's very, very big. So like I said, it holds geographically a very, very large footprint.
And then obviously...
But you don't feel it. It doesn't feel like a big place somehow. It's like you said, sort of this collection of small villages
I think it's
that have all kind of come together.
I think Mijas is deceiving, right? So you look at Mijas and without knowing what we're talking about, it's deceiving because you think it's Mijas Pueblo, right? I think Marbella is a lot easier to sort of understand. Marbella, east, west, finished.
Yeah. Same with Estepona, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the thing with Mijas is that geographically it pans up quite a lot. So people, people generally associate Mijas with the lower suburbs, but it does go quite high geographically on maps.
It's there's something. In fact, we don't really have to leave, and we don't for that. Frankly, leave our kind of Mijas bubble, Mijas Fuengirola bubble. We don't leave it all that often because it has a bit of everything. You have, down in Fuengirola, but on the border to Mijas, we have the zoo. We have lovely beaches that are nearby. Plenty of sporting facilities. We play at Lujo's tennis club. There's another one just down the street that we love to go at. It's just such a great family vibe.
So, I mean, in terms of outdoor, if you think about it, you guys have a zoo in Fuengirola. Marbella doesn't have a zoo. Estepona
Cerro.
Cerro.
Does have a zoo.
Zoo, no zoo, zoo. In terms of like, let's talk about that. Like, you know, what other sort of big amenities? And I mean, you guys have aquapark.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, so you have Aquapark Torremolinos, which is the bigger one, but we would often frequent what's Aquapark Mijas. For a family, it is a big deal. I mean, these things that when you come here and you want to summer here, or even if you're living here, I mean, we're already looking forward to our sort of once or twice a year going to visit,
especially in the hot months as well.
In the hot months, it's fantastic. It's a great place to go. So yeah, Decathlon. We have Miramar Shopping Center. I suppose all of those are technically in Mijas, are they not?
That's
correct. Now you're talking about this, the more I'm thinking about, because, you know, I myself live between Marbella and Mijas, and I'm thinking about like the difference between Mijas and Marbella, and I'm interested to see what you think now is, actually Mijas, in a sense, offers more family-oriented, big amenities, like these aqua parks and these things, bigger commercial centers. If you think about Marbella, like the only big commercial center is La Cañada. You got a few small ones like Club del Mar or whatever it's called in Marbella Frontline, that one on the Paseo.
And the
right?
Corte Inglés in Portobano.
Corte Inglés, yeah, but you don't have like, you know, as many outdoor commercial areas as Fuengirola or Mijas, if you think about it, right? I mean, if you want to go shopping or you want to sort of go to one of these commercials, you got La Cañada and you got El Corte Inglés. Corte Inglés, for people that don't know what Corte Inglés is, Corte Inglés is a massive department store. Literally, you find everything you need.
Also, in terms of beaches, even though again it's easy to sort of concentrate on a smaller geographic region that I think a lot of people define Mijas as being, but just down the street from us here, we're in Calahonda. You got Cabo Pino, which is, you know, growing up was one of my favorite beaches.
That falls under my category.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
Are you into Marbella?
Yeah. I mean, I think.
So where's the line?
No, I mean Cabo Pino is part of Marbella.
Yeah.
That's a real.
What he's trying to say is he wants brownie points.
No, you got Cabo Pino there.
I do think that is one.
I think like
growing up, those were my favorite
if
beaches.
If there's one thing Mijas and there's one thing Estepona cannot compete with, is the beaches. I think Marbella has the best beaches on the coast, and I would say in number one would be Cabo Pino, Los Monteros, East Marbella generally, and the beaches of Marbella Center. I mean, Estepona has some nice beaches. And which beach is the one?
Playa del Cristo.
Playa Cristo, that's a nice beach.
I mean, I think you're right. Marbella does take number one spot. I don't think we can compete, Matt, to be honest.
Well,
what would you say?
There's one beach in Fuengirola, Mijas. Well, I mean, actually, I have to say, I mean, you know, actually, you should say it. La Cala de Mijas is a great beach. It's true.
La Cala de Mijas has a great beach.
No, it's true. La Cala de Mijas has a great beach.
Yeah. Cabo Pino, the advantage, especially as a kid or for families with kids, it's the beach that is the shallowest, the furthest out, and so it's just a lot more enjoyable as a family to have kids at that beach. Whereas along sort of the Fuengirola coastline, it has a tendency to sort of dip quite deep in a very. It's like a technicality, but as a parent, it actually matters a lot.
Well, what I would have to say about Estepona beaches is, okay, they might not be as great as Marbella and Cabo Pino, as you pointed out, but we're closest to Tarifa, Conil, where they have the best beaches.
Valid point.
So,
great for kite surfing too, by the way. That's where I learned how to kite surf.
Did you really?
Yeah. And surfing and all aquatic sports.
So then let's start with Estepona on who is Estepona for, who lives in Estepona. Sam, what kind of people live in Estepona?
Well, what I like about Estepona is it's basically a mix of Marbella and Mijas in the respect of it's very authentic and traditional as well as international at the same time. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is if you were to visit Marbella, you see this quite international. You wouldn't have many locals, like not a big population of just Spanish people. Totally. Whereas in Estepona, it's very authentic, especially when you go to the town. So I would say there's a nice mixture.
We've just done an area guide by foot on Estepona, and I was interested to find out that from the Estepona population, I think it was 27% are foreigners. So 70%.
That's big.
Oh, wow.
That's big, yeah. But when you walk around Estepona, like you say, like when you walk around the urban center, we did the Estepona by foot video, like it's all local.
I think Mijas is definitely a lot more local. I'd say there's a lot more local residents living there. You do have pockets. Los Pacos is sort of defined by, I think, is it the Finnish, sort of Finnish population. Yeah. You sort of have these clusters of nationalities. But in general, one of the other reasons that I love Mijas so much is because you still feel like you're in Spain. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, genuinely, it's like still a lot of the traditional houses, a lot of Spaniards around. Like we're frequenting with Spanish people all the time. So yeah.
Talking about Marbella now for 1 second, I would say that Marbella is the most international, right? So and Marbella is massive. So let's break it down. Marbella center, historic center, it feels Spanish, it feels authentic. Everything else doesn't anymore, right? Like, being from Marbella, I can say that. Like, the historic center, some parts of town, The new part of town is predominantly Spanish, but then everything else, like, okay, a big hotspot, Nueva Andalucía. Nueva Andalucía is like huge, right? It's for people who don't know what Nueva Andalucía is everything that's north of Puerto Banús, right? So you got Los Naranjos, Las Brisas, Aloha, and all that area there, like, is that tradition? There's no traditional left.
Yeah, but do you know what? You're touching on that in a negative manner, but I guess it really depends on each person as to what they want.
Yeah, yeah, of
some
course.
people
No, of course,
want
completely.
like the
100%.
majority to be Spanish. Some people don't want to be with Spanish. They want to be with a mix of nationalities. So I guess it depends.
I totally agree. Like, you know, I think the profile, and you've touched on something really important there, the profile of the person that buys Andalucía is someone that wants to live with an international community. You know, you can wake up, go and play golf, and meet people from all over the world. And I think that's super interesting.
But then, for example, on the flip side, if we have a Swedish family moving over and they want to be just with Swedish people, they would probably go for Mijas, because there's a Swedish community in Mijas. So
Well, there's also a big Swedish community in Andalucía.
as well.
Actually, it'd be a very interesting video to do, is like the ranking of areas by cluster of nationalities.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's an interesting video.
You know, you're talking about maybe Marbella being docked a couple of points if we're going to talk pointing system regarding amenities. But one thing that does play in its favor for sure are the paddle clubs, the sporting clubs. You have
Real Club
Real Club
Real Club Paddle, that one, which is a fantastic gym, amazing paddle club. And then there's another one that's in San Pedro.
Yeah,
Nueva Alcántara.
Oh man,
That's
beautiful, beautiful sporting facility. So like in that sense, like you guys take the cake.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
Marbella.
true.
I also think Marbella dominates in business quality.
Yeah, I
You know what I
would
mean?
agree.
Like, you know, when you talk about business quality, the kind of restaurants, the kind of sports clubs, the kind of fashion shops, the kind of, let's say, all commerce, Marbella dominates.
Not
Like,
only
you know,
that, but the business people that live there, a lot of them are entrepreneurs working out of the pool. Shout out to the pool, great job, guys. I'm bringing together like incredible entrepreneurs, incredible facility that was that took over the top floor of
El
what
Corte Inglés.
of the El Corte de Inglés, like. What an incredible place those guys have built, and that's really, you know, they're really trying to make themselves the epicenter of business on the Costa del Sol, Marbella. I mean,
No, like Marbella is attracting so many entrepreneurs. I think Marbella and Estepona. So if you look at, let's say, I would say, I don't know what you think about this, but let's say, what areas are attracting more entrepreneurs, digital nomads? I think it would be Marbella and Estepona. That's what I would say. More than Mijas itself. I'm not sure. Like,
yeah, I get that feeling too.
I get the feel that Mijas is. I mean, you know.
People
it's a
follow the
young-
money, you know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I get the feel that sometimes going towards Estepona and Marbella, it's a younger crowd, right? Again, very generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with Estepona, like, I understand that there might be better, you know, business opportunities in Marbella or Mijas, but Estepona is the most up and coming out of the three. I mean, you also need to remember that with Estepona is that it's been developed in the past 10 years. You know, it's not like Marbella or Mijas, which has been more established for a longer period of time. You know, there's still a lot of land in Estepona, but what I love about Estepona is you can visit the old town, where it's very authentic. Shout out to the area guide. But also, you can also go to the new part of Estepona, you know, where there's so much construction. What
would you define as being the new part of Estepona?
Once you enter, you have like the new part of the town, and then if you go deeper towards the sea, you have the old town, right? But in the new part of the town, you have, you know, a fantastic new climbing wall that's just been built.
Oh, cool.
They have another, next to the climbing wall, they have a building which has Olympic facilities in, of all types.
Stadiums,
Swimming, yeah, exactly. Yeah, swimming pool and all sorts. So what I mean is it's very up and coming, you know, and you have everything there at your doorstep.
We were just filming the Estepona by foot, and we covered the new boulevard that they're building. Have you seen it? No? From the town hall, you know, where all that's lifted up. So from the town hall all the way to the Paseo.
They're investing heavily in that.
60 million euros invested.
Yeah, but
you know.
touching on that,
It's
fun fact, Estepona has the most connectiveness of the boardwalk for the three municipalities, by the way.
I don't know. I think Marbella also has a very good program.
No. It's true. I remember. I got told the fact a few weeks back.
But the promenade in Marbella is massive, son. Like the promenade in Marbella starts from Rio Real practically all the way until Puerto Banús, and it goes to San Pedro.
True.
I think the promenade will be longer. I think Estepona has more of. I think the promenade in Estepona is more interconnected, no, to the town.
Yeah, well, I don't know about Estepona all that much. The boardwalk along La Cala de Mijas is fantastic, which then reaches into the Paseo Marítimo, which is essentially the boardwalk, along Fuengirola, where I go running every weekend. So yeah, that's for me, that's a nice one. And that stretches, I can tell you exactly, about 7 kilometers, at least from Fuengirola onwards. Yeah, fantastic.
That's where you do your jogging.
Yeah, yeah.
So for people that are not from Malaga, they won't know this, but the ultimate plan of the Malaga province is to unite all the municipalities from Torremolinos, Benalmádena, Fuengirola, Mijas, Marbella, Estepona, Casares, Manilva. The idea is, I don't know by when, I think it's like 20 years or 15 years or whenever it was, to join all of them in the one Senda Litoral. So La Senda Litoral in Mijas is one of the most beautiful ones, the one you said, the wooden part. The idea is that to go through the entire coast. That's going to be
a 100-kilometer boardwalk.
Over 100,
ocean boardwalk.
Over a lot more than that.
At least 100.
An important topic, right, is accessibility and connectivity. With, in our case, a lot of our buyers being relocators, people that are moving over, digital nomads, looking to work from here. How easy is it to connect to other parts of the coast, to infrastructure? Let's start with Mijas. What's your connectivity like? Accessibility.
I think Mijas takes the cake. I mean, if you want to live 20 minutes driving time from Malaga Airport, you can't beat Mijas. It is exactly that. And not only that, if you want to take the train, the train line stops in Fuengirola. It goes from Malaga Center, I suppose, I think. At least that's as far as I've gone, all the way into Fuengirola, which is the end line. So from a connectivity standpoint, and that was actually one of the reasons why my grandfather and father ended up buying a house in Mijas quite a long time ago, was because, well, at the time there were no highways, but it was as close as you could get to the airport. Now you have the AP7, you have the A7. The AP7 is the toll road for all of you that aren't familiar, which I take to work every single day. And it's, so yeah, for me, from a connectivity standpoint, I think Mijas really kind of has it all.
Marbella, I mean, I think if you live in Marbella center, it's quite easy to be connected. If you live in the suburbs, you will most probably need a car because, the only public transport that exists in Marbella is the bus. So you got the bus lines. The one that connects Marbella to Fuengirola is the M220. I used to take that every single day before. 1 year.
M220?
M220, that's it. Yeah. It takes about maybe 40 minutes to get from Marbella to...
I think you're helping prove my point.
Yeah, well 40 minutes. I would say the reality about Marbella is if you live in suburban Marbella, east or west, you're going to need a car 100% of the time. Yeah. Or you're going to get the bus everywhere, or Uber everywhere, or taxi everywhere. I think that's maybe one of the negative points of Marbella, I have to say.
But do you know what, just to add on to that, so obviously Mijas probably wins connectivity-wise because you have the train, but you've got bus routes in all three areas.
That's true.
That are really great, always on time. But the thing is, you always need a car nevertheless, though, don't you? I
think that's a great sort of underlying point out of all of this is you want to move here, you want to be here, you're going to need a car. I think it isn't, you're not all that mobile without one. No. I think it's very important to have one.
You are though, because even if you do hypothetically have a property that is walking distance to all amenities, you still need a car to get from the airport to your property. So you always need a car. So yeah.
I think Estepona, on the other hand, like if your point of access to Spain is Gibraltar, then obviously Estepona wins. Right? What is the distance between Estepona and Gibraltar Airport?
It's not very far out. But I think the problem with
you're not flying into Spain.
The problem with Gibraltar is you're not flying into Spain. Number one, and number two, there's really limited airport
lack of flights. Lack of flights.
I think you can just go to London and a few others, and plus then you need to want to land. Have you ever seen the Gibraltar landing strip?
Is it hectic?
Yeah.
No, it's not hectic. It's scary.
Isn't it one of the smallest runways in the world?
It's one of the most dangerous runways in the world. The Microsoft Flight Simulator. I used to play it when I was small. Top 5 dangerous airports was Gibraltar Airport. To land in.
What's your kind of tolerance to being away, from a distance standpoint from the airport? Is it 20 minutes, 40 minutes? Because that's going to also dictate how far or how close you end up buying your property.
So let's talk about distance. So Mijas,
let's say anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes if you live in La Cala de Mijas, I think on a bad day.
Yeah, I would say
30 minutes, would you say?
Marbella is around 35, 40 minutes.
Estepona is about 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, to not compare the areas, just a general statement, is that when people look to buy a property, at least from my experience with my clients, they quite like the connectivity. I mean, because hypothetically, 1 hour from the airport, which is the furthest you're going to be, is not that far. No. I know people, from the UK, for example, who are used to driving an hour and a half, 2 hours to the airport.
That's true.
So that's what's great about the Costa del Sol, speaking generally, is that you're not that far, are you?
I agree with you. It depends what kind of the whole goal of the purchase or the property, right? So like if you're buying a property for weekend getaways, an hour does make a difference.
Yeah.
Right?
If you have a couple of kids in the back seat, an hour when you land can make a really big difference.
Yeah, exactly. So like, if you're coming over, exactly, you're coming for 2 days, 1 hour makes a difference. But if you're coming for a month, even if it's an hour and 20 minutes.
So it depends what you're going to be using the property for.
Exactly. Yeah,
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's talk nightlife, right? Matt.
Oh
Mijas
man, you're
slash-
talking to the right guy.
Okay, so just really fast. So we were talking about Fuengirola and we got interrupted by none other than Luna. Luna, you have something to say about, come on, you've got something to say about...
I don't think Luna was very happy with
No.
like how I was portraying Nightlife. So
You have been unthrown. There you go. What have you got to say about Fuengirola and Mijas Nightlife?
Nightlife. Okay, so.
By the way, this is Luna, everyone.
Hi. I'd say there are it's not really much of a place to go out in Mijas, but in Fuengirola there is. And I think it's divided into 2 sections. You've got the more international side, which is where you go out mostly. And then you've got the more Spanish traditional side. But I personally way prefer the Spanish side. It kind of keeps the Spanish charm. But it's got that international touch to it. So I think it's the perfect balance. Whereas the other area where you go out mostly is just fully international.
With Spanish songs, Spanish dancing,
Reggaeton,
a
flamenquito.
bit of salsa, a bit of bachata.
Yeah,
You like
you
your
got
bachata,
everything.
don't you?
I love bachata.
Actually,
No. Talking about areas, Marbella does win the crown though. Puerto Banús is the place for nightlife.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know what Puerto Banús is, search it up. Puerto Banús has the biggest discos, the biggest nightlife, the biggest events. And it's actually one of the most trendy places to go out, right? So, you have the yachts, you walk around at night, and you have lovely restaurants. I think you got Dreamers.
but it's also the most expensive.
That's actually a very good point because obviously Mijas and Estepona nightlife-wise is quite similar. So Estepona obviously have many different areas that you have.
Estepona.
So yeah, you have obviously the authentic areas, the traditional salsa dancing, Spanish music, Spanish restaurants, more authentic. So similar to Mijas, but obviously Marbella is gonna win.
Well, I mean,
Puerto Banús is the crown.
Yeah, but you've also,
the place to
in
be.
fairness to what Luna said, we were talking about, London's pub and all this area from Fuengirola, but, she made reference to the centre of where Lola's bar is and all that area, right?
Yeah,
And
La Plaza.
La Plaza and all that. And Marbella has the same thing. So, nightlife in Marbella is not just Puerto Banús. You also have lovely places in the centre of Marbella, which are a lot more Spanish, right?
I agree.
Sure.
I think nightlife is a great another video for the channel.
I agree,
Yeah.
and we could bring Matteo on because Matteo does his night
Dice
out.
man. Dice man. Awesome.
And I think in summer, for example, I love to go out in Los Alamos, which is Torremolinos, and that's
yeah.
it's like, I don't know, maybe 6 stops on the train, and that's great in summer. You've got chiringuitos, you've got beach clubs that turn into nightclubs, which are really fun. So, and it's kind of it gives off the Marbella nightlife, but much cheaper, I must say. Much cheaper.
So Costa Insights about nightlife in
Great.
Costa del Sol.
Great.
Coming soon. Cass, Diceman, Sam, Luna. I'm not as trendy as you guys, so I'll join.
Okay, yeah. Coming soon.
How much does it cost to go out in Costa del Sol?
Can we have the company credit card for that?
Yeah, I think
what she said.
guys, I think there's so much to talk about. There is literally so much. It can't fit in one video.
We're gonna have to do a chapter 2.
We're gonna chapter 2. Let's talk about outdoor areas. I mean, I find that to be a very important one. In my case, with small kids, I love to go to outdoor areas, parks. We go to the mountains quite a lot, and all these areas offer different, variety of different outdoor areas. So starting with Mijas,
Yeah.
Matt, what have you got to say?
I mean, from Mijas Pueblo, access to trails galore. I suppose, though, that is the case for everywhere on the Costa del Sol. Just, I mean, if you're into hiking, mountain running, cycling, I mean, it's a fantastic way because the elevation is so much. We could talk a lot about that because we're running a lot lately. Again, the beaches, you got all sorts of tennis and sports clubs, but you also have this huge area in this area called Hipódromo, which is being developed right now. It's called El Gran Parque de Mijas.
Massive.
I think.
It's
And
massive.
it is
Massive.
huge, and it's just going to be that. It's going to be a total green zone full of walking areas, playgrounds for kids.
So I'll talk about my area, Marbella, outdoor area, Marbella. So I think Marbella, we have the best of both worlds. I think, you have the Marbella mountain and the Marbella beach, and the Marbella mountain is so pronounced. If you look at it from the sea inwards, you have La Concha, which is the main mountain. And something you guys don't know, but something you do know about me is that I love mountain running. And I think like there's so much green spaces in Marbella. So starting from the east, where I live in Iberia, you know, you can sort of see that transition going from Cabo Pino towards Marbella, all the green pines. You have so many outdoor parks that are, you know, sort of joined with kids parks, perfect to have a walk with the kids, walk with the dog. And then obviously the lovely beaches of Cabo Pino and Los Monteros, which we already talked about. So people talk about the beach of Marbella, and yeah, you know, that's one of the biggest selling points of that municipality. Please, like, it's not only the beach. Get into your car from La Cañada Shopping Center, literally 5 minutes drive towards Ojen, past Ojen, sorry. You have El Refugio de Juanar, and from there you have a lovely trail walk, which is La Cruz de Juanar, and then you have La Concha. Incredible views. You see the entire Costa del Sol mountain. And there's so many forests and also lakes. Like, did you know we have lakes in so many lakes around us? So it's not only the beach. There's so many greenery. Like, I live in Elviria and I take my kids for walks in the mountains of Elviria. And sometimes I'm looking around and I'm going like, where this is magical. It's
Rediscovering it.
It's like, you know, it doesn't look like you're in Spain, because people tend to think of Spain as like a dry place. Like, it's dry, but it's so green.
When Matt's talking about Mijas, talking about the aqua park, you need to talk about Aventura Amazonia.
Well, that's what, that's what we did. That's what we did our team building. Aventura Amazonia is a really cool amenity in Elviria, where you get to climb a bunch of trees. There's different levels, and it's a really fun day out. That's where we did our team
Great
building.
Team building.
Yeah,
for families. Great birthdays are held there.
What we'll do is in this video we'll link the actual video of the team building, so you guys can see how the High Homes team did team building in this amazing park.
So with Estepona, I think it's a bit of a mixture of both. So you have the Sierra Ibérica mountain range, which is also lovely. Super peaceful, really nice hiking routes as well. So just next to the climbing wall that I previously mentioned, they've also got an indoor arcade, which is awesome for kids. And then you've also got nice beaches, maybe not as nice as Marbella, but still very nice beaches.
Well, they're still very nice.
And
it's different.
Some very nice restaurants as well. So just to wrap up, what I love about Estepona is the mayor's doing a fantastic job for the best interest of the residents. And the town's very, very green now, especially when you're on the beachfront. It's lovely.
It doesn't feel like a town.
No,
you're totally right. I would say the conclusion is a lot more topics to talk about, right? So there's going to be more of these videos coming your way. But the conclusion is that if you're looking to come on a vacation, if you're looking to relocate, or you're looking to come and, you know, buy a property as a holiday home, and you want to know which area better suits you, the real conclusion is every area has something for everyone. Sort of go in, explore, do your homework, and decide for yourself. So much to discover in these beautiful areas. And I think,
even if you pick one area, you can always travel to the other one.
that's exactly what I was just about to say. It's not like as far, is it?
No, they're all very accessible to one another.
That's a great way of finishing, because like if you live in Marbella, you're going to be in Mijas every so often. If you live in Mijas, you're going to be in Marbella so often. It's not really a hard divide. On our YouTube channel, we try to cover as much as possible, but on these videos, there's always a time constraint, I suppose. So more content coming your way. Also a perfect moment to ask you guys to like this video. And if you are new to this space and you want to stay posted with videos from the High Homes YouTube channel, just like these ones, area guides, Costa Insights, expert talks, property tours, and everything that got to do with Costa del Sol real estate panorama, press the button and subscribe to the High Homes YouTube channel. Anyway, guys, hasta luego.
Hasta luego.